So Jupiter and Uranus are exactly conjunct on April 20th, 2024 at 2027 Mountain Standard Time. Now, this is going to be happening in the 7th house. What this means is that the expansive quality of Jupiter is going to accentuate the freedom that comes with Uranus. Now, Chiron, which was just conjunct with the solar eclipse that just happened recently, and you can check out my other video on the solar eclipse for more information on that. Chiron is the bridge from Saturn to Uranus. So with the solar eclipse that just happened, healing was inevitable. Healing was something that you could not avoid. With this conjunction, we're going to start to reap the benefits of that healing, as also symbolized by the trine that Jupiter and Uranus are making with Ceres, which is the reaping of those benefits and is the harvest, which is in Capricorn, which also symbolizes that. Now, when it comes to the 7th house, this freedom, sense of freedom and sense of unboundedness and sense of liberation and sort of being able to do what you really want to do and seeing how you may have had patterns in the past that have restricted you, seeing those patterns and realizing them for what they were, you are starting to see now that other people are not your enemy. Other people always have something to offer you, even if what you perceive that they have to offer you is something negative. Okay? So this is what Jupiter is doing to Uranus right now. Jupiter is making that big. Jupiter makes everything bigger. Jupiter expands everything. Uranus is the freedom and the Aquarian age. So we are ushering that age. However, it takes accountability and it takes healing. It takes getting through the drudgery. As Thich Nhat Hanh said, no mud, no lotus. The lotus has to rise, has to come through the mud and rise through the water in order to bloom and to reach the sunshine. And it's all a part of the journey. When we realize that, when we start to be non-discriminate with the trials that we're going through and start to really understand that the journey is just as important as the destination, as cliche as that sounds, but to really appreciate every energy that comes our way, that's the key to really becoming who God wanted us to become. So, in terms of aspects, we have a trine of 120 degrees, 58 minutes with Ceres. This is exactly what I spoke on about reaping the benefits of our past, of our karma, of our childhoods, of the times where we were, what's the word here? Where we missed out, where we felt we didn't belong, okay? And that belonging is coming in the 3rd house. It's coming in brotherships, in siblинghoods, in partnerships, really, over here. We have the 7th house of partnerships. And when it comes to this moon over here in 29 degrees and 40 minutes, this is the anaretic degree or the final degree of Virgo, and it symbolizes the end of working by ourselves, or more specifically, feeling like we are having to work only by ourselves in order to achieve our goals. And this is also the beginning of this harmonious connection that comes with Jupiter and Uranus over here, and the expansive and freeing partnerships where comfort for all parties involved is the main priority, rather than just getting what we believe the goal is to be done, but comfort along the way in Taurus here. Okay, now when it comes to this square here, this is squaring the midheaven in Leo. So this has to do with being seen as we are, with being magnanimous, with the public at large seeing us in a magnanimous, gregarious, and really just loving way. Now, there's going to be some discomfort here However, that just provides room for growth. Squares are not negative. They are not negative despite what one may believe. Astrology is not a positive, negative type thing. Trines are not simply positive. Squares, you have to look at them as shapes. You have to look at it as an actual square. Okay, so a square is a very foundational shape. It's very rigid, it's very sturdy. Squares provide us that stability. Squares provide us that sense of perpendicular growth, where we can turn on a dime and really come to a place of fruition eventually as we grow towards the sun. When it comes to this sextile with Mars and Pisces, this has to do with spiritual warriorhood. This aspect, well, this placement actually rather, has to do with a quiet sense of humility, as juxtaposed by juxtaposed by the quincunx that comes into effect with the midheaven in Leo, okay? And what a quincunx is essentially you have, so an opposition is Pisces would be opposite Virgo, right? 180 degrees. Each one of these sections is 30 degrees. Now, a quincunx is a 150 degree difference. A quincunx is not quite an opposition, but it's sort of askew, okay? So it's sort of like a blind spot. That's how I would put it, is a blind spot. Now, Pisces and Leo are two similar yet very different signs at the same time. They're very creative. They are very dreamy, both of them in different ways. And the ways that these two placements in particular can complement each other is that this placement of Mars and Pisces in the 5th house takes pride in playing and in fun and in childhood, what's the word here? Childhood fervor, okay? In nourishing really the inner child. And there's a sense of quiet humility that comes with this. And that sense of quiet humility does not need to brag or boast. It just simply is. And now where this sextile comes in here, these energies are harmonious in that there's room for opportunity. Now a sextile aspect is 60 degrees, meaning it is 2 signs away. What we have here, we're dealing with mutable water in Pisces and fixed earth in Taurus. Fixed earth is essentially when one thinks of earth, they think of fixedness as earth is, okay? So for earth to be in a fixed sign would be like very earthy, extremely earthy. And when it comes to the 4 elements, we've got earth, fire, water, and air. I also think of them, however, as solid, plasma, liquid, and gas, the 4 states of matter. It's just a matter of how quickly these molecules are moving. So with these two working together in the way that they do, we've got mutable water, which mutable is able to be changed, essentially, able to go either way in the cardinal direction or in the fixed direction. Okay, so with water being supported by this earth, we've got a harmonious aspect happening here. On the outside, it seems to be harmonious because the earth supports the water, and the water gives moisture and movement and change essentially to the earth. Now, with this in the 7th house and this in the 5th house, we've got creative opportunities coming from partnerships and from places of learning and also from our need to be free, all right? And this combative energy and this, I wouldn't say aggressive really, but assertive energy of Mars, and like I said before, quietly humble energy is really gonna help in meeting the right people and in connecting with the right beings who are going to help us to step into this midheaven of being magnanimous and being okay with it. You know, not feeling that we are being fake or disingenuous, really. Okay, so we have Jupiter and Uranus conjunct at 21 degrees, 49 minutes and 49 seconds. Now, this was important to me, seeing that it was double 49, okay? With Yijing, 21 is symbolized by the change of biting through, which includes the trigrams of Zhen or thunder as the lower trigram and Li or fire for the upper trigram, okay? This would be changing to 49, which 49 in the Book of Changes is molting or revolution, also symbolized by like shedding skin, okay? So 49 is fire underneath and lake above or marsh above. Now, when it comes to this degree, which is also a critical degree, which I'm going to get into as well, it's a very revolutionary energy, clearly, because we have two 49s here. We've got two 49s, and also on top of that, we have the biting through aspect. So when it comes to this biting through aspect, there's a certain breaking that has to happen, a breaking of the shell or a breaking of the outer casing in order to get to the fruit that is within. When you get to that fruit that's within, what you do is you peel it away, just like shedding the skin. So this very conjunction has that very nature within it. It has the nature of revolution, of newness, of breaking away the old to get to the new, and of like really, you really cannot look, you can look back, but you can't go back. Okay, so just a quick little explanation of what critical degrees are. Critical degrees are found by dividing the entire zodiacal circle, which is 360 degrees, by 28, which is a lunation cycle. So these degrees are actually lunar and nodal in their natures, and that's why they're actually pretty important. When it comes to their nodal nature, they do relate to like the North Node and to what you would call your destiny, what you would call like the way that you are meant to facilitate your energy in this life. And when you're looking at your North Node and any aspects of the critical degree, that's very important. But also, if they're not making aspects, then look at them sort of together and see if they're mutually recepting, see if there's anything that they have in common, any numbers or anything like that. But anyways, so let's actually do the math here. What we have is 360 divided by 28. Now what that comes out to is 12.8, which in terms of minutes and of degrees comes out to 12 degrees and 51 minutes. So that number, 12 degrees, 51 minutes, is the interval that we're going to use for each of the modalities. And we're only going to travel through one of each of the modalities. And then after that, the degrees that we'll find will apply to every sign. So in Aries, the critical degree is 0 degree. The first one is 0 degrees and 0 minutes. The next one is 12 degrees and 51 minutes. And the final critical degree is 25 degrees and 43 minutes. Now, these three placements, these 3 points in the zodiac would apply for all of the cardinal signs. When it comes to Taurus, we're going to add 12 degrees and 51 minutes to 25 degrees and 43 minutes. What that comes out to is 8 degrees and 34 minutes. Then you add that again, you add the 12, 51 again, and you get 21 degrees and 26 minutes. This applies for all fixed signs. And then we're going to progress into Gemini by adding 12 degrees 51 to that 21, 26. And we get 4 degrees, 17 minutes. And then we add that again and we get 17 degrees and 9 minutes. And that applies for all mutable signs. So the fact that this placement, this conjunction is a critical degree, is on a critical degree. And when you're using critical degrees also, you want to use 1 degree of orb. So the fact that this is a critical degree it speaks to the importance of this conjunction. This conjunction is letting you relax. It's showing you that you are the only one who's resisting your freedom and your expansion and your bliss, really. This conjunction is letting us know that that I feel the main gist of this is letting us know that other people are not the enemy, okay? No matter how evil they may seem, they're not the enemy. If you look at the world in a way that is founded on the wisdom that everyone is trying their absolute best and doing their absolute best at all times with what they have and with their past and with their present, then you will be able to I don't want to say give people the benefit of the doubt, because it's not that simple, but you will be able to see the beauty in people, the beauty and the grace in people. And in doing that, you'll be able to give them more grace. Now, when it comes to grace and when it comes to beauty, I also want to touch upon just a little foreshadowing of what's coming up. So, the ruler of the 7th house in which this conjunction is taking place is Venus, because this is happening in Taurus. Venus will be on April 20th, on the date of this conjunction, will be in Aries, conjuncting Chiron. Now, this conjunction is going to go exact the day after Jupiter conjuncts Uranus, meaning April 21st. So, with that solar eclipse that just happened, conjuncting Chiron exactly, I want you to consider grace. I want you to consider beauty. I want you to consider the grace and the beauty of revolution that happens when truth speaks for itself, lets itself be known. When the person who longs for truth does not do too much to project that truth, but truly understands that the truth lets itself be known. The truth roars itself like a lion, okay? Which is also connected to the Leo midheaven. And now I also just wanted to go over the houses for the rising signs. So if you're an Aries rising, this conjunction is happening in your 2nd house. This means that your assets, that your self-esteem, which is an asset, you have self-esteem, you have self-worth, you have diligence, right? You have staying power, you have endurance. It's happening in the 2nd house for you, the house of your possessions. So, you might have some opportunities of schooling, of an education that tends to free you, that tends to be so blended in with your sense of freedom that it cannot help but to be a liberative means for you to become even bigger than you ever thought possible. When it comes to Taurus rising, this would be happening in your 1st house, your house of self. So this conjunction is likely to be so integral to who you are as a being and to who it is that people see you to be, the mask that you wear, that there is likely, you might even be the teacher for other people. You might be the teacher for other people. You might even be a meditative facilitator in terms that you would give comfort, which is Taurus, to other people. You might give guided meditations to other people. You might facilitate Reiki healing or energetic healing for other people. When it comes to Gemini, this is going to be happening in your 12th house. Gemini rising, this is happening in your 12th house. So this has to do with self-undoing and the unraveling that comes with spiritual enlightenment and spiritual awakening and allowing yourself to come to terms with who you truly are and who you might have been lying to yourself. You might have been lying to yourself about who you were. So this might come as a surprise. It might come as an expansive earthquake type of feeling that comes. When it comes to Cancer, this is happening in the 11th house of your acquaintances and of, well, not acquaintances, but networks of social networks of greater social networks and greater senses of belonging into the world community. So this educative means, this expansive means of liberation might be coming through as a reckoning of your network and your net worth in terms of that. Your ability to be perceived as able to utilize what you have in your environment, and not only your environment, but the internet as a whole. You'll be able to figure out how to grow and how to utilize that and expand your awareness and be more liberated in that sense. This degree itself, as I've stated before, has to do with revolution, and it's symbolized in the Uranian form of revolution. Uranus is about revolution. It's about social change and upheaval, and there's a lot of social change going on right now anyways. But it takes biting through. It takes getting through to the core of it. When it comes to Leo in the 10th house, which is squaring the very aspect, the conjunction of which we're speaking, this has to do with your social stature, your career aptitudes, and the way that the world sees you at large. With Virgo in the 9th house, this has to do with travel. You might be traveling to a school. You might be going somewhere to do something. Virgo risings might be traveling like on a plane, traveling long distance or on a train, finding new opportunities in that realm, okay? Maybe even not even finding schools, but learning in a new way that you didn't even consider that you'd be learning. Coming back to Leo a little bit, with the 10th house, the way that you're going to be seen. So, Leo risings, you are very magnanimous as you are, whether that is extrovertedly or whether that is introvertedly. You have a rich source of wealth that you draw from and that you are able to give to people without expecting anything in return. So with this conjunction happening in your 10th house, you are likely going to be seen as somebody who can offer these things to people. Let's move to Libra, the 8th house, the house of the other and of other people's resources specifically. The 8th house has to do with bonds, has to do with things that cannot be reversed, okay? So in that way, this conjunction is going to play a pivotal part in your growth and in your expansion, in that it's not going to be able to be reversed. The results are not going to be able to be reversed. The results are clear. Like, this is something that is permanent for you. Scorpio in the 7th house, this has to do with your relationships and with your, is very particular because this is actually how the chart is actually set up, the chart of the moment. So this has to do with your relationships, with partnerships, and with entities that you form alliances with. Sagittarius in the 6th house, this has to do with your work, okay? So you might find this opportunity through work, through your career, through also your health, through your healing, through the medical facets of life. With Capricorn in the 5th house, this likely has to do with games, with creativity. This conjunction would probably, okay, so what I'm seeing is you might also be learning from children. If you're a teacher, if you are connected to children in any way, it's a good time to pay attention to them and to learn from them and to be able to learn from them because they have a lot to teach. simply stated, innocence as it is has a lot to teach somebody, an adult who has been through so much that has garnered their innocence tarnished. And we all have that aspect about ourselves. It's nothing to be ashamed of, but it's something to be accountable for and something to integrate. When it comes to... Oh, I also don't think that I mentioned, but the 6th house was Sagittarius. So when it comes to Aquarius in the 4th house, this has to do with the home. So you might be learning from people in your home and even learning from like your mother figures, okay? Learning this expansive quality from your mother figures. And it might even be doing something to heal your mother wound, just as the Leo risings might be experiencing this conjunction and this way of learning in a way that heals their father wounds as well. And finally, with Pisces risings, y'all have this happening in the 3rd house. So this means that your direct environment and the way that you can, what comes to mind is the 6 steps in between everybody that show that the world is connected on a grand scale. So your world is going to be opening up in a way that you are able to tap into whoever you want to tap into. You realize that you have this power and you are this power of choice within you. And for anybody wondering more about Chiron and the power of choice, I recommend my other video on the key to self, Chiron, the key to self. That's where I'm just reading the article to you about what Chiron has meant to me and what really Chiron has to do with ushering in the age of Aquarius and the healing that we as a society have to partake in. So Pisces in the 3rd house, you realize that you are that choice. You are that ability to choose and to be that reckoning force of, do I want to do this or do I not want to do this? Do I want to make this choice for myself or do I not want to make this choice for myself? What do I want to do next? What do I want to do last? What do I want to do? Like, how do I want to go forth and branch out? Where do I want to branch out to? Who do I want to branch out to? What do I want to... What is the fruit and who can I give the fruit who's going to appreciate the fruit in a way that they will really understand that this has come from my core and that this is something to be deeply valued, okay? So those were all of the rising signs. I hope you enjoyed.